Okay, let's start off 1941 Axis empires, and a certain level of fatigue is definitely setting in. For example, the question I had before, early in my playing of this, I would have looked it up, you know, and I eventually did, but there's a certain level of just, I probably won't need it. I don't want to bother. It's just too hard. I made the attempt and it was too much. So in this particular case, I finally did look half up, and I think I found where it's going to probably be. So under support unit, under convoy placement in particular, it says you can't prevent a convoy placement through. You can't intercept it. You can't interdict it. I knew that. But there are ways to prevent an open port by putting, I guess, anything kind of in the on station box or something, and that's probably vital to having a convoy in place. But that level of trying to link through the rules, and I know that's not terribly bad. There are worse cases in here, but even that level is more than I would ask of a player. I just don't expect, and I certainly don't expect me to be able to kind of trace all these lines of, okay, if I need to do this, I got to figure out all the different steps that need to be had. And that's the same issue I really had with the landing thing. To affect what I wanted to do required not only a knowledge of the rules, which I don't have, but a tracing of a line through those. And, I play too many games and buy too many games to really be terribly happy with spending the kind of effort to just learn how to be competent at using the rules. Personal feeling. Certainly, if I only had, a half dozen games, I could be very comfortable with this probably. I've gotten comfortable with harder rule sets like the old Task Force games, Starfleet Battles, where I just knew everything, but that's all I played for a period of time. I don't want to get into that again. All right, onward. So my card play, Diplomatic Overtures on the Japanese side ended up in a cabinet crisis, changed government over to Navy. And on the Axis in Germany, they supported the nationalists. Didn't get a lot from this, but they did regain Poland back, take another shot at it, maybe in the future, short term, but they really do want that. And now I notice a problem. I forgot to declare war on Burma at the end of my last turn, which I wanted to do, because this is a clear turn. North, what's north? I don't know. North is this blue stuff, so that's safe desert. So, I missed a turn. What the hell. But I'm going to do the declaration of war now on Burma, and then I'll set up the Burmese pieces. I think they'll end up as a Western ally, which doesn't work because that'll bring the U.S. in. Crap. Okay, so I can't play my plan, and I'll have to go back and try to figure out what the hell I'm planning on doing. Oh no, it's British. Yeah, so I'm declaring war on Britain. Well, how do I do that? I don't have to, from what I can understand. I can do this just with a movement with a piece. That's why I didn't have to do it. Okay, so I'm going to try to figure out what that means, see if there's any Burmese pieces or whatever. I don't think there are, and then proceed with my attack. So the Japanese begin their attack, and they've taken Hong Kong without any real difficulty and marched into Burma. Now, Burma's a problem. Burma's a problem because they don't have Siam. So these guys are all, not every single one of them, this guy and this guy aren't, but most of these guys are out of supply. How big a deal is that? Not a terribly large deal as long as they're not facing combat. They can kind of slog their way through the jungles here and probably get to Rangoon, and then they hopefully can set up naval supply. But that's not going to be trivial, because they're going to have to take their supply from back here. It's going to take 2 convoys, and they don't have a lot. Of course, they can create themselves these troop convoy escorts if need be. That won't help them with the supply, but it will help them with later invasions. But they're really kind of stretching things thin, and they're not seeing a lot here. I'm wondering how much, if at all, this can help. I don't think it can. I think that has to be in supply. So it's going to be kind of tough as long as Siam's not here. But all they really need to do is grab Rangoon and then wait. Now, the Brits are going to get their Far Eastern forces, and these all go in the delay box. And we'll see how much pain the Japanese have just caused themselves. I don't think it's going to be too terrible, but it may not be great. For the Western Allies, we see the selective service begins, which starts to bring some armor into the U.S. force pool. I don't know how useful that's going to be in the Pacific terribly. And over here in the West, Churchill diplomacy, which caused just about nothing. British infantry stuff. The one advantage to the Allies for delaying the beginning of the war is that they've got these cards, and this is an example, that are just continual play. They're not spending anything. They may not be the greatest cards in the world, but they're not terrible, and they're really not much worse than what the Axis is putting out. The Axis has some better things, and they have some things they want to get out there. But at some point or another, it actually, I think, becomes impossible for the Axis to keep playing cards, because theirs are one-shots, and they may run into a problem where, for example, they can no longer contest in Spain, and really have to progress the war because they can't afford to give up Spain. And if the Western Allies are supporting Spain, well, maybe they can't fight the war as well. We'll see. I guess we go on to the Russians. I don't expect much there. And for the Russians, not much. More mobilization. I think this is their last mobilization card until war, really. And then Litvinov diplomacy. No real effect from that. Did get to play on some tables. Some extra replacement points, but that's it. That pushes us forward, and we got some rolls to make. And over in Asia, Japan keeps rolling. They're pouring into India. And I've got to really consider what can be done about them. The supply rules don't really affect them. There's no British to fight, so it's pretty easy for them to gain this ground. Now, how much are they really gaining? Well, all of India, it kind of disturbs me if they conquer all of India this easily. I'm probably cheating again, I'm sure. But their naval presence is not terribly powerful. They have a lot of air and naval support units, enough to handle whatever Britain can put out, which right now is just the surface fleet. They've got some more coming. What they're lacking is their convoys. Now, somewhere I should have a convoy on the map. Yeah, there it is. That I should be able to try and get to them. But here's the problem. I only have one. This gives me a free supply convoy here, so I could place one here. And now, theoretically, I guess I'm in supply. The only way to stop this is I guess the English could put their surface fleet out there, but I think that tires their surface fleet out and ends up putting it in the delay box. I'm not positive of how this all works. So it's going to be pretty hard to keep the Japanese convoys from being able to supply their forces anyhow, unless I'm misunderstanding something yet again. Alright, onward. And the turn is finished off to little event. The Allies really had nothing going here with the diplomacy rolls, etc. The only exciting thing that happened was on the Soviets. They got, I don't know what, something on the guarantees table that bounced over to minor country politics. And my first impression was, let's see if we can trigger something with Greece. Well, I actually did get that roll and started following the rules, and it looks like all that would do is add an Axis minor country, which is obviously not what I wanted. So I rolled on a different table, ended up with Finland in the Axis, did not want to roll on the neutral table for Finland. So I guess we'll push into the summer and keep going. So here we are in the summer of 41, the beginning of, well, I don't know if it's the beginning of anything. It's the continuation of this dragging out of the limited war. I want to look at over in Europe first because I did that more recently. No matter what, Japan's going to be hard for me to figure. The Germans played a treaty card. It's got rid of the possibility of a puppet government. We saw how valuable those were to the Japanese. They feel less valuable to the Germans. This seemed like a way to get something cool. Well, but they got diplomatic incident. They picked Poland. And it ended up a border war. Not a bad result. I was afraid this might bring the Soviets into the war, but instead they were able to align the Baltic states with the West, and Poland is now at war with the Baltic states. Now, when I looked at the Baltic states, I couldn't find any troops because this is all there is, except for reserve units. Very well. All right. It should be over fairly soon, but there may have to actually be a fight. Poland's very powerful. I may consider them, and I have to look at the rules to this because I forgot it for France completely, as Germany's partner in Europe. That gives them a few extra counters. Historically, I guess Italy would be Germany's partner. Well, in this game, Italy looks like they're still stuck in neutrality, although I could have gotten them out of that had I understood the rules better. I'm not sure I really wanted to. Italy's kind of serving a nice purpose in the south there, preventing the Med from becoming a drain on my German resources. Starting to move some forces. I still got to do some movement over here. Starting to move some forces eastward, giving up on the British situation because, yeah, I got a pile of air forces here, but they've got air forces and interceptors to meet every single one. And a higher rate of growth. Yeah, I better challenge it too. All right, I'll come back after I finish the German turn. Over on the Japanese turn, I'm almost finished as well. The Japanese have pushed into India and a little deeper. Unfortunately, they played an imperial offensive, which gave me a blitz marker I turned out not to need. This is the planning in advance thing. Well, I just wasn't prepared for it. I don't know what I thought I'd use it for anyway, but I need to play cards. What I did instead was I shipped, this is used, I shipped some forces into Brunei using the beachhead, using the exciting blitz marker that I didn't need. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use it next turn either, or the one after. One thing I am planning on doing though is I am planning on using, they had to use a carrier to establish that. They also got a bonsai result where one of their fleets went out and hunted a British fleet. No big loss there. But they also set themselves up with their logistics down in Saigon, and they're preparing for an invasion of Malaysia using a beachhead here. They can just use an air unit or a naval unit or whatever to establish an attack into there. Sort of doing these invasions on the cheap. Now here's the problem. At some point, and they're going to start getting these scratch convoys, at some point they want to hit over here at Rabaul and then get Port Moresby and work their way somewhat south. Question then becomes, okay, with India, with the positioning to go take New Zealand and maybe Australia, what's stopping them? I mean, seriously, what's stopping them? Maybe they don't want peace with the English, just like with China. And I'm sure I'm probably breaking some rule here because this result looks like it's impossible to stop. Once you start rolling on the English, they just don't have the cards to do a damn thing. Now, I can start shipping stuff from Europe. I don't know how safe that is. There's not a lot. I can't ship troops. I can only ship support units. And right now, Germany's got me tied up as much as possible. All right, I'll finish up these turns. Basically, this beachhead is actually still here for what it's worth. I think it goes away next turn. but I may be wrong. I may have already moved off of it. I cannot follow such procedural rules very well, and that's going to put me at a real problem with this game always. But I got to finish up the Germans. The Poles do not get to move. They're mobilizing. For that matter, the Baltics don't get to move either, but they don't have any troops, so that's okay. Well, not a lot's changed. One thing I'm noticing, though, that's going to be kind of tricky. If Poland is an ally, I'm not going to have a border with Russia. So I'm going to have to ship my Germans through either East Prussia or the Baltic states to position themselves for an attack on Russia. Actually, occupying Poland would take their troops away. And I don't want to do that. They don't have a great army, and I might do it if their army starts to falter. I might need to sweep in with German units. But at the beginning, it may make more sense not to do so. And that's kind of where I'm aiming there. I looked up the partnership rules. No, they don't work in the limited war. They're total war cards that have to be used. So that's not too hard. And it was really easy to find. I just looked at it in the table of contents. Maybe I just have to get used to different ways of looking at things to find the rules, just like the actual rules are going to be fairly different from most games. All right, onward. And for the Western Allies, well, there's just not a lot they can do right now. They did manage to play Commonwealth support over here, and I've got to get another card under that. I forgot to put it, which got them some of the Indian troops here. Now that took the equivalent card, and it took me a while to find it because out of the deck over here in Europe, but they couldn't have played that anyway because they're at war here, and this will help defend India at least, we hope. Over on the European map, they supported the Republicans again, but they lost. They had a defeat, and we see that there are more nationalist strongholds. Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that's still the Western Allies defending that. All right, on to the Soviets, and I'm going to have to wrap this vid up and not do the entire summer turn on it. Russia continues to spin their wheels in the east with border defense, but they put up a limited war production. This is getting almost the entirety of their forces into play at this point. They're very scared of the developments in the Baltic states and beginning to realize that being the warm and fuzzy Soviets that they were, although grabbing Eastern Poland probably helped create their problem, they could have quite possibly had, a barrier anyhow of these neutrals. But as it stands, instead what they ended up with was no allies and no real advantage from this. Well, they're going to lose the Baltic states, and that's going to put the Germans near Leningrad and not that far from Moscow for a starting position. Of course, so far the Germans don't look like they have much in the Balkans, but they have Poland, and Poland's a pretty potent little force, even though it's going to cause them problems because they won't have the German army in places easily, which is something they're going to have to work on. All right, this one's going up. We got some naval stuff going in that might take a long time. But other than that, just really a few delay box things. We'll see what's going on in the air war over Britain still.